The Clements brothers. You know where they are?
Don't know about the others. Frank's in room 22.
That'll do for a start.
Ever wonder what the Old West looked like through the eyes of its most stunning women? From tough pioneers to enigmatic saloon queens, these captivating photos reveal more than just beauty. They hide secrets that shaped history. In this video, we'll uncover the untold stories behind these iconic women and show you the shocking truths you never knew. You won't believe what's coming up next. Keep watching. 20. Elizabeth Bacon Custer. When Elizabeth Bacon Custer's husband, General George Armstrong Custer, fell at the Battle of Little Bighorn, most would have expected her to fade into the background. But Elizabeth wasn't just any widow. She became the force that shaped his legacy, ensuring that his name remained iconic in Western history. Through lectures, books, and public appearances, Elizabeth actively worked to preserve the narrative of her husband's life, portraying him as a hero despite the controversial end to his military career. But Elizabeth wasn't only known for her role as his widow. She became an influential historical figure in her own right, advocating for women's rights and using her platform to break societal norms for women of the time. The photograph of Elizabeth standing tall and composed captures the essence of her strength and beauty. It's a testament to her ability to rise above personal tragedy and mold history on her own terms. Elizabeth Custer wasn't just famous because of her husband. She carved her own legacy that echoed throughout history. Now, let's move from a woman who preserved history to one who created her own empire in the Old West. Elle of Crabtree. 19. Elle of Crabtree. Elle of Crabtree wasn't just a performer, she was a powerhouse of talent and business acumen. Rising to fame as a captivating dancer and musician in the Old West, she quickly became one of the most celebrated performers of her time. But what set her apart was her ability to turn her fame into fortune. Elle ventured into business, investing in hotels, commercial properties, and even shares in railroads, making her one of the wealthiest women in the country. The photographs of Elle in her prime, whether on stage or in her finest attire, show a woman who didn't just play the game, she redefined it. She proved that beauty, brains, and ambition could take a woman to the top in a man's world. Elle's story is a perfect example of how women in the Old West defied expectations, turning talent into an empire. From building an empire with grace and style, let's dive into the world of Rose Dunn, a woman who showed the Old West her courage, even when surrounded by danger. 18. Rose Dunn's name might be linked to the notorious Dalton Gang, but her legacy is much more than just that of an outlaw's lover. Rose was a fierce, courageous woman who stood by the Dalton Gang and played a pivotal role in their escape from lawmen. But her bravery wasn't just about loyalty. She was known to save the life of her lover, George Bitter Creek Newcomb, during a dramatic shootout. The portrait of Rose, rebellious and strong, perfectly captures her essence. She was far from a passive participant in the Old West's chaotic history. She was a daring woman who defied norms and fearlessly made her mark in the history books. While most remember the Daltons for their criminal acts, Rose's courage has kept her in the limelight as one of the West's most unforgettable women. From the thrilling and dangerous world of the Daltons, let's explore another fierce woman who made her own way in the untamed West. 17. Pauline Cushman. Pauline Cushman wasn't just a stage actress, she was a real-life spy during the Civil War. When the Confederates invited her to toast their president, Jefferson Davis, she saw an opportunity to gather vital information for the Union Army. Disguised as a Southern sympathizer, Pauline infiltrated Confederate lines, gathered intelligence, and passed it on to the Union. Her espionage work was so daring that she was later honored by the Union Army for her bravery. Pauline's story is one of courage, wit, and audacity. She wasn't just a woman in the shadows of war, she was actively shaping the course of history. The photograph of Pauline, poised and determined, tells the story of a woman who wasn't afraid to face danger head-on, all while defying the expectations of her time. From a woman who changed the course of history with her intelligence and bravery, let's move to Lola Montez. whose bold performances in the theater challenged society's standards. 16. Lola Montez. Lola Montez was a woman who lived life on her own terms. Known for her provocative dancing and bold performances, she captivated audiences across Europe and America. But it wasn't just her talent that made her famous. It was her controversial romance with King Ludwig I of Bavaria. Their affair made headlines, pushing boundaries and sparking conversations about love, power, and sexuality. Lola's career as a dancer wasn't just about entertainment. It was about challenging the rigid societal norms of the time. The photograph of her in mid-performance captures her fiery energy and daring spirit, symbolizing her rebellious role in society. Lola wasn't afraid to break the rules, and her performances continue to be remembered for their boldness and sensuality. She changed the way women were viewed in entertainment, daring to be both powerful and unapologetically herself. From challenging norms in the theater, let's dive into the world of medicine, where Susan Anderson became one of the Old West's most vital figures as the first female doctor. 15. Susan Anderson, the first female doctor. When you think of the Old West, you might picture cowboys and outlaws, but Susan Anderson is the face of a different kind of frontier, the frontier of medicine. In 1897, Susan became one of the first female doctors in the West. After earning her medical degree, she moved to Fraser, Colorado, where she became known as Doc Susie. For nearly 50 years, Susan served the community, providing everything from emergency treatments to preventative care. Her work was especially crucial during outbreaks of diseases like the flu. Susan's photograph with her patients captures her compassion and dedication to healing, showing a woman who was more than just a doctor. She was a lifeline to a community that desperately needed her. From breaking barriers in medicine, we move to Mary Hackfoot, a woman who used her writing and illustrations to capture and preserve the heart of the Old West. 14. Mary Hackfoot. Mary Hackfoot wasn't just a writer, she was a storyteller, an illustrator, and a true chronicler of life in the Old West. After marrying a mining engineer, Mary moved to California, where she experienced the hardships and triumphs of the frontier. She used her experiences to write vivid accounts of life in mining communities, capturing the essence of the West in ways that few others could. But Mary wasn't just about words. She was also an accomplished illustrator, contributing drawings to publications that showcase the beauty and brutality of life on the frontier. The photograph of Mary, deeply focused on her work, speaks volumes about her dedication to documenting the world around her. Her contributions have left us with a valuable record of the Old West, one that helps us understand the lives of those who lived through it. Mary Hackfoot's literary and artistic works continue to shape our understanding of the American West. 13. Victoria Woodhull. In 1872, Victoria Woodhull made history by becoming the first woman to run for President of the United States. But her political career wasn't just about breaking barriers, it was about challenging the very norms of society. A fierce advocate for women's rights, Woodhull campaigned for issues like women's suffrage, free love, and social reform, fighting for the empowerment of women at a time when their voices were often silenced. She didn't just speak about change, she embodied it. Woodhull's photograph, bold and confident, speaks volumes about her pioneering spirit. She was a woman who wasn't afraid to go against the grain, to stand up for what she believed in, even when the odds were stacked against her. From trailblazing politics to thrilling performances on stage, let's turn to the legendary Annie Oakley, whose marksmanship made her one of the world's most famous sharpshooters. 12. Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley was no ordinary woman of the Old West. She was a sharpshooting legend. From a young age, Annie had a remarkable talent for firearms, and by the time she was in her teens, she was already a world-class marksman. Her rise to fame came when she joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, where her incredible accuracy and ability to shoot anything from moving targets to playing cards made her an international sensation. The photograph of her in action, holding a rifle and performing her famous feats, captures not only her skill, but also her fierce independence and determination. Annie Oakley didn't just break records, she shattered expectations about what women could achieve. From the sharp aim of Annie Oakley to the bold stage of Isaacs Menon, we move to another woman who made a name for herself with daring performances that captivated audiences worldwide. 11. Isaacs Menon. Isaacs Menon was a true pioneer in the world of performance art. Known for her groundbreaking and daring stage act in Mappa, she shocked audiences by seemingly appearing nude, tied to a horse on stage. This bold performance made her an international star and secured her place in the history of theater. Isaacs Menon was more than just a talented actress. She was a force of nature, willing to push the boundaries of what was acceptable in society. Her photograph, capturing her in a dramatic pose or costume, reflects the boldness and passion that defined her career. From breaking taboos on stage to surviving one of history's greatest tragedies, Margaret Tobin Brown, known as the unsinkable Molly Brown, left a legacy of strength, compassion, and courage. 10. Margaret Tobin Brown. Margaret Tobin Brown's legacy as a survivor of the Titanic disaster is only one part of her remarkable story. Known as the unsinkable Molly Brown, Margaret's bravery and determination helped save the lives of other passengers during the sinking. But her influence didn't end with her survival. A wealthy socialite and philanthropist, Margaret was known for her generosity and her commitment to helping those in need. Her photograph, glamorous and dignified, shows her in her finest moments, a woman of strength and compassion who refused to be defined by society's expectations. 9. Jenny Rogers. Jenny Rogers wasn't your typical Old West woman. While most were expected to fit into defined roles, Jenny carved her own path to power in Denver's underworld. Known for her beauty and business acumen, she built an empire that included a luxury brothel, which became the most notorious establishment in the city. Jenny's ability to navigate the complex dynamics of Denver's high society and criminal world earned her the title of Queen of the Colorado Underworld. The photograph of Jenny captures her elegance, showing that she was more than just a woman in a man's world. She was a businesswoman who commanded respect. But Jenny was more than just a figure of power in the underworld. She used her wealth to influence the city and provide for those in need. Let's turn to Josephine Marcus, a woman whose influence was felt not through power, but through peace. 8. Josephine Marcus. Josephine Marcus's relationship with Wyatt Earp is one of the most fascinating stories of the Old West. She wasn't just a companion to the famous lawman. Josephine was a woman who helped shape his life and legacy. In a time when the Wild West was defined by gunfights and lawlessness, Josephine became a calming force, advocating for peace and stability in Wyatt's often chaotic world. The photograph of her beside Wyatt shows a woman who was both romantic and strong, a constant support in his turbulent life. It's said that Josephine influenced Wyatt to leave behind his gunslinging ways, urging him to embrace a more peaceful existence. Through her love and guidance, she played a pivotal role in helping Wyatt evolve. From a woman who shaped the man behind the legend, let's move to the iconic Julia Boulette, whose legacy in Virginia City was as much about grace as it was about influence. 7. Julia Boulette. Julia Boulette was not just known for her work as a courtesan in Virginia City. She was a woman of compassion and philanthropy. While many saw her as part of the town's high society, Julia used her position to give back to those in need, especially during times of crisis. She was adored by many, and her charitable acts, such as aiding the sick and donating to local causes, made her a beloved figure in Virginia City. The dignified image of Julia shows her grace, kindness, and inner strength, defying the conventional roles that women of her time were expected to play. Julia was not simply a woman of beauty. She was a woman of substance, using her influence and wealth to uplift her community. Her ability to balance a high-profile career while helping those around her made her one of the most respected figures in the Old West. We now move to the trailblazing Mary Ellen Pleasant, who became the first black millionaire and used her wealth to fight for freedom. 6. Mary Ellen Pleasant. Mary Ellen Pleasant's story is one of perseverance, courage, and trailblazing success. As the first black woman to amass a fortune in America, Mary Ellen didn't just use her wealth for personal gain. She used it as a tool to fight for abolition and civil rights. A successful businesswoman, she invested wisely and strategically, becoming one of the wealthiest women in the country. The photograph of her, poised and dignified, captures not just her wealth, but her power and influence. Mary Ellen's advocacy for freedom and equality was groundbreaking, as she worked alongside abolitionists to help enslaved people escape to freedom and fought tirelessly for equal rights. Her wealth was a means to an end, an instrument she used to further the causes she believed in. 5. Calamity Jane. Calamity Jane was a woman ahead of her time, fearless, independent, and unafraid of the harsh realities of life on the frontier. Known for her courage and wild spirit, she became one of the most iconic figures of the Old West. From dressing as a man to participate in rough, dangerous activities like scouting, riding, and fighting, Calamity Jane was a woman who defied expectations. She was a true frontierswoman, a fearless adventurer who didn't let anything hold her back. The rugged portrait of Calamity Jane captures her tough, unapologetic spirit, showing a woman who wasn't afraid to embrace life on her terms. She was known for her loyalty to her friends, especially Wild Bill Hickok, and her larger-than-life persona only grew as she became a legend. From a woman whose life was defined by adventure, let's move to Josie Washburn, whose intelligence and leadership challenged societal norms in the Old West. 4. Josie Washburn. Josie Washburn wasn't just a brothel manager. She was a woman of intellect, vision, and compassion, determined to change the lives of the women she worked with. Managing a brothel in Nebraska, Josie didn't simply oversee day-to-day operations. She worked tirelessly to improve the conditions for women in the profession. At a time when most women were limited by social constraints, Josie used her position to empower others, advocating for their rights and ensuring they were treated with dignity. The photograph of Josie emphasizes her strength, intelligence, and elegance, showing a woman who wasn't afraid to break norms and fight for a better future. Josie was more than just a businesswoman. She was a voice for change in an industry that often silenced women. From breaking societal norms to shaping a community, let's now dive into the world of Dora Dufran, a notorious madam whose influence in Deadwood became undeniable. 3. Dora Dufran. Dora Dufran was a force to be reckoned with in Deadwood, where she rose to prominence as one of the most influential madams of the Old West. She wasn't just known for managing a brothel. Dora became an integral part of Deadwood's cultural fabric, shaping its nightlife and social dynamics. Her business acumen, charm, and confidence made her a respected figure in a world where women were often marginalized. The portrait of Dora radiates strength and influence, capturing her as a woman who commanded attention and respect. Her brothel wasn't just a place of business, it became a social hub, drawing influential figures from all walks of life. From shaping Deadwood's social scene to mastering the high-stakes world of poker, Lahi Dino made her mark as the undisputed poker queen of the Old West. 2. Lahi Dino. Lahi Dino was a legend in the world of poker. Born into a time when women were expected to play supporting roles, Lahi carved out her place at the poker table, becoming one of the most skilled and famous poker players in the Old West. Her rise to fame came not only from her remarkable ability to read the game, but also from her unshakable composure and skill under pressure. The photograph of Lahi, striking and confident at the poker table, perfectly captures her commanding presence. Lahi wasn't just a player, she was a strategist, always several steps ahead of her opponents. Her legacy as the poker queen of the Old West isn't just about her skill at cards, it's about her ability to break into a male-dominated world and dominate it. From mastering poker to becoming an influential businesswoman, Sad Orchard's entrepreneurial success made her one of the most respected women of her time. 1. Sad Orchard. Sad Orchard was no stranger to the challenges of the Old West. She didn't just survive, she thrived in a world that often favored men. With her entrepreneurial spirit, Sad carved out a space for herself, becoming one of the most successful businesswomen in the region. From operating brothels to owning hotels and other businesses, Sad proved that women could not only run businesses but also make a significant impact in a male-dominated world. The photograph of Sad, standing proudly with her businesses or in her prime, reflects the confidence and resilience that defined her. She wasn't just about making money. Sad Orchard used her success to influence the region and become a role model for other women looking to carve their own path. As we wrap up our journey through the stunning beauty of the Old West, these timeless photographs remind us of a world long past. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more captivating stories from history.